everybody. So I just wanted to give a little disclaimer before this interview. We had a couple interviews with actors that we'd recorded before the strike. And now we have gotten permission from their agents and talking with them to publish the interviews. But this is not a break in strike in any ways. Like I said, they were recorded before the strike. So yeah, there you go. And I did a live stream talking on the Hallmarkies podcast YouTube about our plans now that we are not able to interview the actors anymore. But we did have, like I said, a couple in the can already recorded. So enjoy. And yeah, it'll be an interesting time. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We have Andrea Brooks back on the podcast. Can you believe it? This is your 6th time coming on Hallmarkies podcast.
Oh my gosh, 6. Thank you for entertaining me for the 6th time. That's very kind.
I think the only actor who's been on more is Paul Campbell, who's been on 7 times. So yeah, but he hasn't been on since 2021. So you've got him beat in that regard. Yes. So how are you? How's life been for you?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Life has been crazy and insane, and wonderful at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because last time we had you on was March 2022.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So you had a good 2022/2023.
Yeah. A lot has happened since March 2022.
Yeah. Welcome to new life into the world. I mean, you don't get to do that every day.
No, indeed.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a journey. Like when I think back to just everything that's happened with shows and movies and Win Calls and Baby and oh my gosh, total whirlwind.
Yeah. Well, I thought we'd start talking about Win Calls the Heart, and then we'll talk about the new movie. But how did you feel about Faith's journey in season 9 and her kind of what happened with her character?
Ooh, well, I was actually really, by the end of season 9, I was proud of Faith. I think that was a very, very big step for her to acknowledge that she had feelings, as weird or fleeting or butterflies, whatever that was, she kind of acknowledged it. She spoke it into existence in a way that character is generally kind of shut off when it comes to emotions and her personal life. And I thought that was a really, really big step for her. And I think it's sort of a step towards healing her heart. It represented a lot to me. And that was one of my favorite scenes of season 9, when she was just like, oh no, what do I do? I feel butterflies, essentially. And yeah, I remember when I read that, I was like, yeah, good on you. Like, acknowledging that is hard for you. And I'm all for it.
Yeah. She likes the guys with the blue eyes. That's what she
You're right.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and think here, but you're right. That's her through line.
Yeah. That's true. Even Jack, I think Jack has blue eyes, right?
Daniel Blue Eyes, I think he does.
Am I forgetting? I can't remember.
Since we've seen with that man. Funny.
Yeah,
she definitely likes her handsome guys. Doesn't know what to do with her feelings.
Yeah. So it must have been fun to film season 9 because you have things like the Hope Valley days. That must have been fun.
Yeah, that felt like a long time coming, the Hope Valley days. I know that the Hardys reunion was kind of modeled after that as well. It's just like any excuse on this show to kind of get the town together and to get all the characters interacting is always a good thing. It's always my favorite because I adore everybody on this show. So every time we film one of those kind of big group days, it's great because you're just checking in with friends. You bounce around, you sit with someone, you sit with someone else, you catch up with someone you don't typically have scenes with. So Yeah, we did so much of it in Hope Valley Days. It was a little mind-boggling. It took so long to come up with that concept because I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, we could have like a little Halloween station,
Yeah.
and it was just so fun.
Yeah. It was like classic Hallmark to
Totally.
have. Yeah. It was,
Totally.
it was really
Put all
fun.
the like seasons in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I actually, I'm more of a fan of these later seasons of One Calls Heart than the early seasons. I know that's maybe a hot take, but like, I like the fact that I think it forced the leaving of Daniel. I think it forced the writers to lean more on the community and to make it more of an ensemble than it had been leading up to it. And it's just more my thing. I enjoy it more. And yeah, I think they've had to lean more on Lee and Rosemary and more on oh my gosh, my brain. Like Loretta's character. I can't think of it all of a sudden. But the side characters, so much fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and I think you're right. I've said this before, and of course, Erin is the most phenomenal leading lady of all time, and I will always stand by that.
Hmm.
The town, the community is really a central character in this show. Like the town is just so much, and the town can change, and sometimes people come in and out, and some characters there for a few episodes, like a couple seasons, a season, but that sense of community is really the driving force behind so much of this story.
Hmm. Florence. That's why I can think of her.
Florence, yeah.
Like, no, why can I think of Florence? Yeah. Yeah. It really, when it becomes uh, an ensemble, a community story, I think that's when it's most successful. And they used to do more of sort of the one-off character episodes, where you'd have like a full arc in an episode or two episodes. And so I guess we missed that a little bit, but I just, yeah, I really enjoy getting to get to know some of these more minor characters, seeing them have over the course of the whole season, getting them to see like we have just the space for them to have a whole arc.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I've always been a Lee and Rosemary stan since the
Oh, they're
beginning.
so wonderful.
Yeah.
They're watching them work together is it's like an art in and of itself. I love doing scenes with the two of them because it's like they have one brain,
Hmm.
just kind of like doing ping pong, and they're not even really speaking. They just kind of know because they've
Hmm.
worked together for so many years. And it's a real treat getting to see that process in
Yeah.
person.
Well, and they're like the two, particularly Rosemary, is like a more interesting character to watch because she is flawed,
Very.
and just so funny, and she's just a more well-rounded character than some of the other characters. And so, to me, I've always been drawn to her, and I just love Pascal's performance.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm. So yeah, that was fun with her finding out she's pregnant. That must have been a fun scene to kind of go through.
That
Yeah.
it was so fun to kind of be along for that journey. And then just knowing, like, obviously, when a baby comes into the world, you need medical professionals, they need
Hmm.
baby checkups. And
Yeah.
so when I found out that that was the direction we were headed, I was elated knowing that I would get to kind of play into that
Hmm. Hmm.
line quite a bit. So that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Well, and compared to some of the other, I feel like the face clothes are pretty good, like pretty comfortable, pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally,
Yeah.
totally. I've never been like, yeah, the uptight, like corset wearing. Like it's been a little more like
Yeah.
chill vibes in that regard.
Yeah. And yeah, so Faith and Nathan, are you seeing, we'll talk more about season 10, but I mean, what do you think about this whole I guess love triangle?
Yeah, yeah. um, it's interesting. I really the idea of Faith and Nathan kind of being placed together makes sense in a lot of ways. It makes sense for these characters to share scenes. They're both kind of first responders. They deal with crises a lot. They can kind of maybe lean on each other. They have and they both obviously dealt with heartbreak and And I think that they've kind of, maybe each of them have like a bit of a sour view on love because it hasn't worked out for them. So there's so many reasons why these characters could interact, and then you throw in like an injury, and then here we are. So and personally, I adore doing scenes with Kevin. He's such a talented actor. So always a treat. But yeah, I think there are two characters who still have a lot to figure out about their lives. In no way do I think either of them are ready for big time commitment. I think they both have a lot of healing to do. But it also really makes sense for them to kind of team up. So
I can see that.
I'm all for it. And yeah, every time.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Together, it makes sense, when they're put together storyline wise.
Were you surprised that the writers had Elizabeth pick Lucas? Did you see that coming?
Did I see that? Because so now I'm thinking back a few seasons.
I know.
It's so funny.
I know it's tough.
Season 10 is about to air, and we're all in season 11 mode. So I'm also right. And then it feels like so long ago now. Was I surprised? To be honest, I don't. For whatever reason, I don't really make predictions with where we're going. I always try very, very hard to kind of deal with what's right in front of me. And we're kind of given 2 scripts at a time, and then we're focused on that, and then we move on from there. And if I focus too much on the overarching narratives, I lose sight of where I am in the moment. So the way that I've always dealt with this show is I just kind of like put my head down, focus on what we're doing, and then like bulldoze through from But was I surprised? No, to be honest, I wouldn't like either one made sense in my mind. You don't have a bad option. And I always joked because I'd get asked all the time, what team are you? What team are you? And I'd be like, today I'm this one, today I'm out, because I'm friends with both of them. I think the characters are really awesome. And I don't think she could go wrong. I think it was just a different flavor. It would just it would change certain storyline elements depending on who she chose, but like neither one of them is good or bad. Like she was destined to make a good decision either way.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised just in the sense of I felt like it was the bolder choice, and I just didn't necessarily see them making the bolder choice as writers. But as a podcaster, I was thrilled because I like this is going to be way more interesting to talk about than doing the same basic thing over again. Not that they're exactly the same, but more similar. This was something different, and it's going to stretch the character, be more interesting to talk about, be more interesting. And like from a just from a viewer perspective, I was like, it totally makes sense. She was dating Lucas the whole season. He was the one who courted her. He was the one who actually went on dates with her. He was the one who from all like she was with Lucas. She had said that I'm with Lucas from the very beginning. And I guess people just didn't, some people just kept wanting her to be with Nathan. But like, if you really listen to the character, that's what she said.
Yeah. Don't totally. And I think bit of the ghost of Jack in a way, anytime you're dealing with a Mountie, right? Like there's a lot of unresolved feelings, and situations there just from the uniform alone.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. And they were going on romantic dates and like it
She
makes
never
sense.
went on a date with Nathan, not one. She never even had dinner with him one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, wait, it makes sense, you guys, calm down.
And also it kind of showed it showed a different side of Elizabeth
Yeah.
too by making that choice, which is kind of cool because
Yeah.
we've seen her do in the Mountie element. We've seen that, and then getting to hop over. Yeah, it just shows maybe a more mature side of
Mhm.
Elizabeth that we haven't seen before. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
In my mind, it makes sense, and now it's just so long ago that it's been a minute since I've even thought about it. But
Yeah.
either way, like she couldn't have gone wrong.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about season 10. Do we have a lot? I'm sure we have a lot of fun stuff coming up for season 10.
Yeah, I've been on the phone doing a few different interviews today, and it's been really fun to go back and reflect because season 10 was a bit of a strange one for me because I was pregnant. So I
Mhm.
went from, what was I, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 months pregnant to 9 months pregnant during shooting. So that there's always this extra element at every given moment of the season. I was constantly like, okay, character direction, arc, storyline, relationships, all this, all the normal things, and a huge bump to deal with.
Yeah.
So, although it wasn't huge in the beginning, but like as this season progresses,
Yeah.
props get bigger and bigger. So that was an extra fun element that's kind of fun to relive now because I'm like, right, that wasn't that long ago, but man, was it a crazy season. And then in a lot of circumstances, the plot was almost secondary in my mind because I was constantly like, do my costumes fit today? So
Yeah. You're like, how many aprons do I have to wear? What
exactly.
can I be
Exactly.
holding?
Get a bigger doctor's
See?
outfit. Yeah, it was wild. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot, like there is a lot jam-packed into 10 in a way that I'm
Oh.
very proud of. Cause I think by season 10 for any other show would be very easy to just kind of cave in, do the normal thing, kind of start wrapping things up, slowing down. It is not slowing down at
Mhm.
all. There are 1,000 different elements at play this season. There are problems, crises, fun, dinners, events, crazy character interactions happening at every given moment, and it just escalates and gets wilder as the season goes on. So I think for a season 10, I'm quite proud of this.
Mhm.
I think there's enough chaos and controversy and craziness and wildness and hearts falling all over the place that there's just so much more to explore. By the end of 10, I was like, wow, we can go so many directions. I could see this continuing on for so long because like it's by no means is it getting boring.
Well, I that's very exciting to hear. And also, it's interesting because I was honestly surprised when they announced season 11 so early.
Yeah.
Just because they typically wait so long with Hallmark to make these announcements, first of all. And second of all, they just have like jettisoned almost anything that was part of sort of the old administration. So I kind of thought, oh, well, season 10, that'll be like a really good kind of place to sort of they can end with the wedding and it'll be, a nice place to stop. So I was really surprised when they announced season 11 so early and, they announced it at all, to be honest. So it's very interesting. Makes me intrigued about 10.
Yeah, I think a lot of new life has been kind of pushed into this show. We've got like new characters, new concepts, characters who have grown and changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have kind of these new ideas, new personalities. We're in a new time as well, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot changed between 1910 and 1920, and that's kind of reflected now. And
Mm-hmm.
so season 10 was cool in the sense that I think that fans can watch. There's going to be a lot of little Easter eggs, a lot of callbacks to previous seasons, which is very appropriate for a 10th season.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of be like, remember this thing from season 3, remember this thing from season 4, and just calling back in ways we've never really done before. But at the same time, there's enough wildness at play that is like, and let's go for the next 10. That's kind of what it felt like, a revving of the engine in a way that I wasn't expecting. Because like you said, with season 10, it kind of seems like, oh, we can start wrapping up the bow, but it's very much not that, which
That's
I
good.
find exciting.
Yeah. 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 So I wanted to ask you about filming the season pregnant. Like, how did you deal with like being sick and like just normal like pregnancy stuff? That must have been rough.
Honestly, it's the community. We have just the most wonderful cast, crew, directors, producers, network. I
Mhm.
feel so fortunate because it's just even the little things of our second AD would always schedule me to have the best sleep in. Like I get scheduled at the last moment to come in for hair and makeup, knowing that I needed the extra half hour of sleep. Like little things like that, feeling like everyone had my back was just so wonderful. And
Mhm.
even like it's hard. I've worked pregnant a ton because I did it all the way through in my first pregnancy and now all the way through in this one. And it's a journey, and you do need help. Like you'll have to go into wardrobe, be like, hey guys, nothing fits. What do we do? And like, hey guys, this angle doesn't work. What do we do? Hey guys, I'm sick. What do we do? And there was always an answer. Everyone was always quick, ready to shift if need be. And yeah, like I'm someone who has dealt with nausea quite extensively both times. And to the point where I did have to kind of get on some medication to make sure that I could keep it in check. But I always had people who would look at me like hair and makeup. I'm so close with them. They'd be like, you don't seem like yourself today. And I'd be like, right. You're right. And I'd be like, go lie down. Or just having that community, couldn't have done it without a supportive community. 100% owe it to everyone. And it's just the little things. Like I'd be in a scene, we'd be all coordinated, and then it'd be like, oh no, my bump might show. And then it'd be like, Aaron or Kayla, someone would be like, oh, I'll stick my elbow out. Like they're just always there to help. And just everyone, it felt like everyone was on my team. And that just made it so exciting. And then when the baby was born, it was just like so fun to send the email to the cast, be like, guys, because I feel like I really went through 2 full pregnancies with this group of people. And it's emotional because they were all just so on my side. Like, how was your checkup? How are you feeling? What's the due date? What's the, like, just so much support.
That's great. That's what you want to hear. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Rachel Hauk, the New York Times bestselling author of The Wedding Dress, presents a nostalgic coming-of-age novel. Summer of '77 was supposed to be the best summer of Summer Wilde's life, but after a teenage prank gone awry, everything changes. 20 years later, after her music career crumbles, she must face a reckoning with her past and the friends she lost to find her future. Purchase The Best Summer of Our Lives for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's bakerbookhouse.com, or see the affiliate link in the description. People have, obviously positive work experiences, but that it allows you to do your best work as well as obviously have a like pleasant work experience. So
100%.
everything benefits.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm so thankful that, pregnancy isn't seen as something that incapacitates you. You can absolutely still do this. And it's hard. It's still a bit of a taboo subject for actors. It's like, oh no, you're pregnant. Oh, and initially, back in the day, I think everyone would be like, oh, well, you should rest and like, don't work. And it's like, no, it's hard, but it can be done. And just feeling supported means everything. And yeah, like honestly, kudos to Hallmark because they're a network that supports women and mothers and family. And every Hallmark project I've worked on, when I say like, it's like, oh, we have to be on location. You have to fly somewhere. Like they're always so ready to be like, let's fly the family out. What do you need? Are you breastfeeding? Like just so wonderful. So kudos to the network.
That's great. That's great. And so, yeah, they have to get pretty creative about hiding the bump.
Totally.
Yeah, it was the most creative thing that they did.
Oh my gosh. It's actually so funny that I was thinking, I'm like, this should be a drinking game. Like, look at Faith's props. Because there's props. And I was Googling, like, I've actually been considering, I'm like, maybe I'll start a little thing on Instagram or TikTok or something where I'll actually explain it and break it down and like what we did. Because I found myself as an actor on set just Googling like how to hide a pregnancy, how to hide a bump, seasons of actresses who've done it before. What did they do? How did they do it? And I learned a lot of from other actors or just looking at their photos and reading about it, I would find it very beneficial for someone to like have a I don't know, YouTube channel or something devoted to this.
Yeah.
I remember thinking a few times, I was like, oh, we have this great concept, so novel. No one's thought of this. I know I have this great idea. Talk to the director. We come up with a really amazing way to hide the bump. And then I Google it and be like, oh, that's like a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But no, I was thinking about that would make a fun Twitter thread.
Honestly,
You know,
like
it's
I'm not even joking. It gets funny. Like by the end of the season, it gets more and more comical, at least to me. And like there's, you know what, there's a lot of ways to solve it without it being comical. Like honestly, they just shoot, you're more in frame. So as opposed to starting your scene when it's a little wider, it just starts a little closer. Like there are some very simple cheats that aren't distracting in my mind. There are some really funny ones. And then I feel like some of the directors were having like fun with this. They're like, oh my God.
I'm going to laugh if you're like randomly holding cats or something like that.
One, I almost don't want to spoil it because I just kind of want like, but there's a super ridiculous one. Very funny. I think it's in episode like 8 or 9 around there, where it's just like, I'm doing something. I'll shout this out when it airs because
maybe we'll have for our podcast, maybe we'll have a bump tracker or something like that. That would be funny.
I'm not even like, this would be it would be a very funny game. Like
it would. I might get too sloshed though.
You might. But early in the season it was fine. We hid most of it with just costumes because I was quite small. It didn't really pop out massively till the end. But yeah, that's when things get crazy.
Well, that's good because a lot of times the second one will be a lot bigger than the first one.
Yeah, I think that.
So that's good. Well, so is there anything else that you want to tell us about season 10? Anything for fans to be looking forward to?
Oh,
aside from baby bump.
I mean,
we've got Rosemary with so
one of my favorite
character baby bump
of 10. Yeah, that was one of the cool things about 10 is there was Pascal walking around with like a big baby bump, and then there was me trying to hide a baby bump, and then we had scenes together, which just seemed so counterintuitive. It's like, let's show this one and let's hide this one, and it was just like very strange and funny.
Yeah.
To the point where even like there was a full conversation at one point of being like, oh, if we need, I mean, she had a bump, like it all worked out seamlessly for Pascal, but it was like, oh, if we ever need a bump doubled, like Andrea's right there. Like if we need like, which I thought was so, but no, in season 10, I think one of the most special elements in my mind is just the Coulter situation and the family and what happens there, and getting to be a piece of that storyline is so special to me. And especially because I was like a hormonal, emotional, I mean, it was already emotional being there for our 10th season, because there's something about shooting 10 that really makes you reflect on the decade. And so every day people, I feel like more so than usual, we would all be on set and being like, oh, do you remember when that one character was here? And when that, when like, there's a lot of do you remembers, which is really cool. And then getting to, have a big payoff, like expanding a Coulter family in the scripts for this season was really special.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. Yeah.
It's a season it's a worthwhile season to watch, even if people have maybe tuned out or not, if they haven't kept up. 10 is a special one. There's a lot of recalls to earlier seasons, like a lot of payoff for fans, I would say.
That's good. I was going to ask, do you have a favorite season? Or is that too hard?
I mean, they're like, so many of them are special for different reasons. Like 7, I was pregnant with my first kid. 10, I was pregnant with my second kid. Season 2 was special because that's what kind of kicked this all off. And then I fell into this whirlwind that's continued for so long. So I don't know if it's possible to have a favorite because I've got such special memories from all of them, but the one that's freshest in my mind is always kind of fun. And like 10 is special. There's something really, it's an honor to be a part of a project that's gone for 10 seasons. And it's just such a marker for us. And we had like our 100th episode celebration during this season, and it was just really special. So yeah, it's definitely a season of reflection. And in my mind, 10 is kind of representative of this whole journey. So I like 10 for that reason.
I'd still say the best episode for Faith I think is the episode where Carson operates on his sister.
That was emotional.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
the best
brain
one.
surgery in Hope Valley in 15 or whatever it was
Yeah.
back then. That was emotional. Like there
Yeah.
was some real depth to that episode. I agree.
That was a good
Like
one.
there's a lot going on back then. There's actually in 10, one of my favorite one of the highlights, like let's say out of all the seasons that Faith has been a part of the show, one of my favorite Faith episodes is coming up in season 10. And it has
Oh,
to do with the Coulter baby, but it does have to do with some medical stuff. And it's really fun and it's funny. And it's interesting and there's depth to it, but it's also funny.
mhm.
Yeah, so there's one coming up this season that is worthwhile, I would say.
The other best episode of, aside from if you're gonna have the proposals / weddings, those are all really good. But I think the best standalone episode of One Calls the Heart is the one where the kids go, it's like bring your child to work day. And you see
Yes.
the kids go all over.
Yes.
I love that episode.
Yeah, Jason's character was in and he
And
faints.
Opal goes to the chocolate shop.
Yes, and she
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
all, yes. That was so cute. You
That
know,
was a
and
really good
all
one.
like that is always a treat.
Yeah.
That was a great episode. You're totally right. You're totally right.
We should do a best. I haven't even thought of that, but yeah, we should do our best episodes, One Calls the Heart ranking. But
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
so we have a new movie, Lifelong Love. So when was this filmed?
We filmed this in March and April of 2023
Okay.
in Winnipeg. I had a 3-month-old baby, so that was wild. And yeah, at first I kind of made a promise to myself. I worked so hard through both pregnancies that I was like, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to audition. I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to like push myself. I'm just going to kind of take a breath and take a moment. And if something comes my way, cool, I'll consider it. But I'm just going to kind of hit pause for a little moment here.
Mhm.
And then of course I get a phone call in that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't know. And then it's like, well, it's with Lexi Lewis, who's my favorite producer of all time, and Nicholas Humphreys, who's a dear friend and wonderful director that I've worked with before. Love him. And it's like both of them, it's in Winnipeg, which I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to Winnipeg with my whole family in the middle of snowstorms? But we did. And then on top of that, we found out like the week later after I had signed on that Patch May was going to star alongside me. And we've done a movie before. So I was like, actually.
Well, you did. It was the same movie that you did with Nicholas Humphreys and Patch and
and Lexi. Yeah, we had all been together on The Wedding Fix.
Mm-hmm.
And we all just like, what a friendship we created on that. But you have good experiences and it goes well, but you kind of hope, you cross your fingers and you're like, maybe in 5 years, one of us will work together again and it'll be great. Never did I foresee that the four of us would team up again so closely in proximity to when we did our last movie. Because I think Wedding Fix we shot in 2021 and this is the beginning of 2023. That's a pretty quick turnaround to get the gang back together and very rare that that's agreed. But Lexi made it happen and it was just such a gift to pick up where we left off. And there was no like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. How do you like to work? Because sometimes on these movies, you might not jive right away. Or sometimes it takes 3 or 4 days to break the ice and really get to know each other and figure out how you like to work. And, 3 or 4 days on a 15-day shoot is like a huge chunk of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
What's so wonderful with this is we all know each other. We all know we understand each other's sense of humor, how we like to work. And it was just like no time had passed. The second the camera rolled, it was like, whoa. It was like we were just transported back to 2021 and we were right there again. And we just didn't miss a beat. So
Mhm.
it was actually the greatest gift for that reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it must have also been nice because 2021, you're having all those COVID restrictions and all those limitations of what you could shoot and what you could do to now do a movie in 2023 together again, where you could actually like make the movie.
It's like take off our masks.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Nicholas, I've spent so many hours with Nicholas. I love him. But I was like, Nicholas, you realize that for the majority of our friendship, I never saw your face.
Yeah.
So that was very cool.
Yeah.
That it was like it kind of felt like a moment where we've been through the worst of it. We've kind of jumped that hurdle together.
Mhm.
But oh my gosh, we had such a ball. And the crews over in Winnipeg, so fantastic, so professional. And yeah, it was a little wild because we were shooting essentially a summer movie in the middle of a snowstorm. So that was weird.
Mhm.
A lot of the movie ended up having to kind of be shuffled and moved indoors because we had this freak snowstorm in April. And we even had to call it a day. There was one day of the week where the storm was so bad, they had to send everyone home at lunch because of safety reasons. So there were some elements like that at play that were wild, but yeah, it was a great experience, like right up there for me. One of my favorite movies that I've worked on.
Mhm. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the movie, what people can expect?
Yeah, so it's called A Lifelong Love. And essentially, I play the character named Annika, and she's very close with her grandfather. And her grandfather at the beginning of the movie essentially reveals to her that he had this first love in his life that she knew nothing about, and he lost touch with her. Her grandmother has since passed, and they kind of decide to team up to kind of see if we can find Ruth, if she's still out there, to see if we can reconnect the two of them. And then in the meantime, Annika is also a poet, an online poet and writer, and she's working on a project of her own. And she finds a way to kind of marry her own project with her grandfather's search to reconnect his heart. So it's a bit of a mystery, and it's also a love story at the same time. And then, of course, an ex of hers falls back into the picture unexpectedly, and they have to team up and race against the clock to try to find Ruth.
And there, she's like making a documentary, right?
She's chronicling it on social media, so it's kind of like
okay.
in the moment docu-series, you could say, but she's chronicling it for her socials and for her project, which is kind of a poetry, image-based poetry online project.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I was going to ask you, so this is on Movies and Mysteries. Do you feel like this is more of a drama than the rom-com?
A little bit. I mean, at its core, it's still very much a rom-com. But what I liked about it is that we get to play out the mystery features, and they were a little bit more liberal with letting us be a little bit funnier, which is always a plus in my books.
Mm-hmm.
Have a few little moments, like a little jump scare style moment or two, that I don't think we would generally play in a classic rom-com. And then just the search element, the mystery element at play, it just really gave us a fun driving force. So it's slightly different from anything else I've done in this realm, but at its core, very much a love story.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Well, and that's got to be nice when you already have chemistry with your leading guy.
Yeah, 100%. And we've done the full classic love story before, and now it's the love story with a bit of a twist.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, we're looking forward to it, that's for sure.
Hello. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Katie, and we have a podcast called
One Kiss Means Forever. Do you love made-for-TV rom-coms?
Are you obsessed with Hallmark and all the Hallmark-inspired copycats that have come out on other platforms like Netflix?
And while being obsessed, do you know that these are not what one might call quality films?
If so, come listen to our podcast. Each episode, we discuss one movie that did not have a theatrical release and always ends in a happily ever after.
And how do we know it will end in a happily ever after?
Because one kiss means forever, of course.
So join us as we deep dive into each movie for about 45 minutes.
Episodes drop every other Thursday, except during the very elongated Hallmark Christmas season when we join the Christmas craze and go weekly for about 2.5 months. Bye!
We've already done all the questions that I have with you. And so we're just going to do the original questions again, because it's probably been like 6 years. So you might have new answers. So
Oh, good.
here we go. All right. First question. What is the best ice cream flavor?
Oh, cookie dough.
Okay. I would say that like 2/3 of respondents say cookie dough.
Really?
Yeah. Very, yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels like a tried and true.
Mhm. It's good. All right. What is your favorite color?
I mean, blue, typically, my daughter's favorite color is yellow. So now I find myself gravitate when I see something
that's
yellow.
cute.
Oh, she would love that. In which case, I feel like I've adopted it as my favorite color a little bit. So yellow and blue.
That's cute. Okay. What music are you into?
Oh my gosh. I like pop folk, I would say. I'm still a sucker for some of the old Lana Del Rey. I am a bit of a Swiftie. I do like Taylor Swift. But yeah, I feel like I have an appreciation for most genres of music. But yeah, anything in the pop kind of realm is always fun.
Yeah. I do like the pop folk, like Sarah Bareilles is a favorite of mine.
That's
Yeah.
good.
All right. What is your go-to date night food?
Date night food. Ooh, I love sushi. I'm such a Vancouverite. Like I love going for sushi.
Very good. What is your go-to date night activity if you're going out doing something?
You know what's something I loved to do as a kid that I've now gotten back into doing since I have a 3-year-old is I love mini golf.
Mm-hmm.
I love mini golf. Like I have more fun than the kids when we go. Mini golf, but also Catan, the board game Catan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fan of it. And now I feel like we do, like I've done a few double date nights where we'll hang out with another couple or even like a group of people and we get into group Catan. It gets very competitive. And that's because that was a game I played all pandemic on my phone.
Mhm.
And now that we can be together in real life again, we've started having parties and Catan comes out and it's always a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds, I love game nights. Those are the best.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. Oh, which do you like better, dogs or cats?
Dogs. I've never quite figured out cats. I respect cats, but from a distance, we're just sort of like, maybe I'm too much like a cat. We're just sort of like, got it. Like we don't need to touch. It's cool. But
Well,
I
we
like
always say cats, you have to earn their love.
exactly.
Dogs just
Dogs just they're free with it.
yeah. Okay. Which you like better, beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
Okay, good. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
I mean, I think Christmas is classic, and that's probably the answer most people give you. It's on brand.
Yeah.
I love Christmas, but you know what? Now with kids, like Halloween is so fun. I know it's not really a holiday, I guess, but
Mhm.
that's a fun time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all holidays are way more fun with kids.
Totally.
Yeah.
You
More
get to
work,
live
but
your
more
child.
fun.
More fun. You can do all the things that you wanted to do, but you're like, oh, but I'm in my 30s. That's weird. But then you have
Yeah.
kids, you're like, I can buy the thing because I have a reason now. I have an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm so guilty of that.
That's very true. Yeah. All right. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Ooh, my favorite Hallmark or romantic. You know, I saw Aaron's recent movie,
The Wedding Cottage.
Wedding Cottage with
It was
Brenda.
excellent.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I think I have cable, but I don't know how to work the TVs in my house, full disclosure.
Yeah.
So I rarely scroll through channels, but that movie premiered while I was in Winnipeg and I got home at like 8:00 p.m.-ish, which is fairly early when you're shooting a movie because I think we had an early start that day and her movie was on. So I was able to watch most of it. I had to go to bed because we had an early morning, but I watched, and even from the very beginning, I was like, this is a great movie. Not that like they're all great, especially all my friends do fantastic movies. I adore seeing them on TV. But there was something really special about being in Winnipeg, getting home, turning on the old school TV with the old situation and then going to that the page where all the titles
Guide,
scroll
yeah.
up. even know what you call that.
Yeah.
Read the like registry of what's airing. And then it was, first of all, funny because I was like, I think I have friends on every channel right now at like 8 p.m. I was like, yep. Oh, look, there's Kevin, there's Kayla. Yeah, there's Aaron. And I was like, oh, Aaron's new movie. Yay, I'm home. I'm gonna watch it. And I was texting her. I'm like, this is excellent. Like, not that it wouldn't be, but it was really cute. There's something about meeting the cottage, the vibe of the movie, the bickering. I think that they were paired very nicely. So, yeah, that one is like up there for me for a Hallmark. But in terms of rom-coms in general, gosh, I'm a sucker for the old ones. I love You've Got Mail. Like Runaway Bride was such a good one back in the day. Gosh, like I watched My Best Friend's Wedding somewhat recently, and that's like a chaotic movie in itself. It's fun. So yeah, like I'm going through a bit of a renaissance at the moment. I'm rewatching 90s rom-coms. They're all so freaking good.
Yeah, it makes me depressed to think they're considered old because like
vintage.
I'm like, You've Got Mail came out when I was like a freshman in college.
I remember when it came out.
Old.
I remember watching that movie. I was a kid and being like, the internet is so weird. Like,
You've Got Mail. Yeah. But yeah, you can tell, Aaron. I actually think this year has been kind of weak when it comes to Hallmark. But that was one of the highlights for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah. She did a great job as usual. She's such a pro.
Well, very good. You did it. You answered all the questions. Very great 6th interview.
Yes, 6.
Yes. So if people want to follow you and hopefully your Baby Bump Twitter stream, how did they do that?
So I'm Andrea K. Brooks on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm still trying to figure out, and Facebook, I don't know. I like my Facebook is just linked to my Instagram. I think I'm /Andrea Brooks actor on there. But I imagine you can find it through, if you click through my Instagram, you'll get to it. But I'm trying to figure out the best avenue and the best way to like go through the baby bump stuff this season. I'm like, should I do TikTok? Should I do things have changed so much? I just have so many funny stories from this season that I was like, I think from my own memory, I kind of want to chronicle them. And I was telling Barbara at my fitting recently, I was like, I kind of want to like do an interview with you where we talk about what we did, because so much planning goes into dealing with a pregnancy that isn't a part of the storyline. She could write a book on the cuts that you use and the positioning and of garments, and she's so fabulous. So I might try to,
if I can help you with that at all, just let me know. I'd be happy to do it on the podcast.
I might be in touch because I need to rack my brain and find the time to kind of throw this together, because I think it's really fun. Maybe it'll be helpful for another actor who's on a show and they find themselves pregnant and they're like, I just kind of want to encourage people to be like, yeah, you can do it. Here's some funny tricks.
That would be fun. Well, very good. We'll have all that information in the description. Everybody make sure to follow, and thanks so much for coming and talk with us. We really appreciate it.
So much for having me again. I can't wait to get to 7 and beat Paul Campbell. I adore that guy, but
Yeah. We'd like to thank Andrea for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her, and let us know what you think about all the things we talked about in the comment section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really helps us a lot, especially as we're getting ready to cover When Calls the Heart. We would love to have those reviews and ratings on there. So please take a second to do that. If you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. That really helps us a lot. Most of our views on YouTube are from non-subscribers. And so it really helps us if you just click that subscribe button and then watch hopefully all of our content. We are very grateful. And so then we also have the Patreon group, which is a really fun way to get to support us, but also get to hear from talent in our watch alongs and also in the exclusive content that you get every week. And then also have the merch store. We have tons of When Calls the Heart inspired merch, Hardy's inspired merch that you can check out. And we sure appreciate that. So thank you so much again to Andrea, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.